If you want to be my friend, you had better go and get a pen.
Why?
And maybe we can keep in touch.
Like when?
Like I did in the old days. It wasn't so long ago. And I wish you well. Oh, sign your pen.
Opera Man?
I wanted to try to find Opera Man in there, but I didn't because I can't.
How would it go?
Sign the pen, pals.
Yeah. If you want to be my friend.
If you want to be my friend, you better go. Am I yelling? I am yelling.
Yeah. Welcome to us.
Lissa's got headphones on, and now she's got an extreme headache because, well, let's just say Lissa had an accident, folks. Listen to this. Listen to this.
We talked about this
Wait, hold on.
recently.
What did we say? What was Lissa's nickname? What was that? She
What are you
hated
talking
it.
about?
Remember, she hated it. What was the nickname I gave you? Why would she tell me?
Lisa?
No.
Listless.
Listless.
I don't remember this.
And then you
at
said
all.
listless. You don't remember this?
No.
Anyways, something very heavy fell on Lissa's head, and the fact that Daniel doesn't remember listless makes me think at some point something also fell on his head.
For sure.
Listless? You don't remember we talked about listless? Listless. You don't. I feel like this was the last time we were like together.
And I've talked about how it's a boat without a rudder.
I hopped on Mike and gave the definition of listless in a very listless way.
Because,
It
but I
couldn't
was
have been
right.
More perfect.
But I was right. It's like a boat without a rudder, directionless.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Lacking
How'd you remember
energy
that?
and
Well, because you know
enthusiasm.
the
Listless.
definition.
Yeah.
Why did I think?
Wait, definitions are
If
jogging
you
my
don't,
memory.
you remember things outside of things that inspire those things?
Is today a potentially special day to listen to, or to watch this on YouTube?
Maybe.
Because it could be a cameo.
My dog is here. He might show up.
You said,
he's with me today.
Rory,
but
I love
he's
you.
gone to Daniel's side of the room.
I legitimately love you.
Okay.
But you said
I'm not going to say it back. I'm not ready.
the dumbest things to me any person has ever said.
Well,
You told
what?
me a grown human, male, man, person,
Yeah.
watch out for the dog with my feet.
Yeah. Well, because I didn't know if you noticed that he's right there.
It's just spatial awareness.
Yeah, but he's
we played
tiny.
enough sports.
He's tiny.
You think I'm going to drop a
You're gonna
size
forget.
14
You're gonna forget.
onto your dog?
You could forget. You
No,
could get
I
into the
will
heat
tell
of the
you.
moment,
I knew he's down there, so I'm not putting my foot in any way.
Yeah.
But I just looked to where he is.
and it's right where that foot would. That's why I said. I was like,
But
if you
still-
uncross and you do
But
that.
still, look, even when I go to uncross, I'm going to see the little fell.
No, you're way outside on the
Well,
left.
because I saw him when I went to uncross.
Ugh, everybody on
This is
Wednesday is
video
like, I
content.
can't wait for Friday. Although they won't be able to see.
Oh, and he's up.
And he's up, folks.
Probably didn't trust my feet.
It has been a minute since we've been together, so there's probably just even off the top. I know we do in the middle, but there's a few things we probably want to say right off the top.
What do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say that our first live back out in the world, Austin.
This is our first time since then.
We haven't.
God,
we've
how are you
recorded.
remembering
When is what?
everything?
Well, I just remember that because then you went on the road, so clearly we haven't gone on these mics and said.
I know, but I didn't even.
Thank you. Like that's what we needed so badly.
So badly.
Hannah, Kurt crushed it
Yeah.
as guests. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if our audiences have even listened to that episode yet. I think they have. Okay.
Yeah,
But
they
I gotta say, just as a little backtrack, it was just fun to walk out and perform for people who know our show and know that we've wanted to walk out and perform for people who know our show.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
For the YouTube of that,
Yeah.
we haven't even talked about this.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I wish we could get B-roll of someone just sorting mail, and that's
And that's the whole
that's
thing.
the video
Yeah.
for that
well,
episode.
by the time now, it's already happened, right? So that's probably
I guess, yeah.
dropped.
But we figured it out.
Yeah. Anyways, just know we
was
loved it.
wonderful. Yeah.
It is something that I know we talk about a lot. It isn't easy to get our schedules lined up to just go drop and do live shows. And also financially, we have to make it make sense. And right now, if you haven't checked, flights are $1 billion.
It's insane.
So it isn't like it makes sense to just go out and break even. You know, this is our income. So we
Right.
do have to like pick and choose how and when to do it. But just know, Austin, all of you people that came out, and supported our show, that was the push we needed to remember what that feels like, and
And how much
get our shit together and get back on the road.
How much good hanging did we have?
I loved it.
We had a little routine. We'd go get a cocktail before our shows.
Cocktail to start the evening.
We would, and we'd get a good one too.
An old fashioned.
And we'd go off by
a
ourselves.
sour, right?
Yeah, a whiskey sour with egg white and bitters. Little bullet rye.
Second night they didn't use real egg, and it affected you that night.
Yeah,
I could
it
tell.
wasn't. I didn't like it. Hey, do you want to go?
Let's go to the letters. Whoa!
And then, then we'll have it. No, now have it.
And now we have it.
No, I'm saying this is whoa.
Yay!
And that's when she does the wipe, and then grab your.
Oh yeah.
And then now.
Got it.
But then now.
And
Okay. It's all makes sense on Friday.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if this ever made sense.
Well, we had a comeback. Like we were like, whoop, we're back.
We had a thing,
but we didn't have a go.
You're right.
So when we had let's go.
Let's. Okay.
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 It's me, right?
That's you.
Hey, pals. Hey. It's not really written that way, but doesn't feel like that's more.
But
hey, pals. Hey.
But if it is written that way,
it's hey, pals. Hey.
but it's written that way,
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
That way you
hey,
said
pals.
it.
Hey.
But there's an exclamation point on it.
You're right.
There's no way it's hey, pals. Hey. Right?
You're
it
right.
has to be hey. It's got to be an extended hey.
This is when you make decisions, like you do your work and make decisions pre-table read. And people are like, oh.
Well, yeah.
And
then you go, oh, I haven't even looked at the script yet. You don't let them know you're up all night. And they're like, well, it's highlighted.
Mine came that way.
You don't say a word.
And people accept it.
He doesn't. It does work. People do accept that. They count that as a legit reply.
Well, dude, you did a good job.
Oh, well, all right. Yeah, they go, all right, I'm not trying to offend you. They get scared.
And then they interpret it later. Somebody's like, Rory did a good job earlier. And they're like, yeah, I told him about it. And he was like, I don't really know what happened. Like, they interpret it.
They do. I was just thinking the other day, when people, this just happened this morning. I went to a coffee shop, got up early, went to a coffee shop, staying in a new neighborhood for a couple months, kitchen remodel. Yikes.
Okay, that's
a little too much.
If anyone wants to send in a letter about kitchen remodeling,
please do.
You're loaded.
Yeah. Send in about getting permits and inspectors coming. Going to the coffee shop, get my coffee. I'm sitting just outside the front door on the patio, and the music's that playing. I was like, oh, it's like ambient kind of thing. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of this other album I have. In fact, it sounds so close. It might be this album. So when I'm done, I go back in. I go, hey, I know you put this on, so you like this.
Sure.
I was like, this might be the same album, but have you ever heard of her? And I showed my phone, and they go, that's what this is. This is that exact album. And I go, that's cool. And then as I go to leave, I hear, actually, I'm screwing this story up.
That's okay.
I'm screwing this story up. That did happen this morning. The story I'm trying to tell happened at an art store.
Okay.
They were playing 90s jams. 311 came on.
Great.
I talked about how much, I was like, 311? I was like, loved it. The whole time I shopped,
Yeah.
I was like, this playlist
Amber,
was
baby.
great. I go, this playlist was great the whole time I shopped. And I go to leave, and the woman goes, the music is great. And she goes, that's what he said. He was like, hey, you guys are playing like great music. And I'm at the doorway, and I almost stopped to go, that's not, I did say that, but that is not how I said that. And then
the interpretation.
I didn't say anything back, but as I walked off, I go, that happens all the time, which misinforms people of who someone is.
Right.
And we do it, I do it. We all retell stories with sentences where they'll be like, oh, what did Daniel say when your name was first in the letter? He was like, I don't even get it. Like,
stop.
Did he? Do you know what I mean, though?
Yes, you're 100%.
And like, wait,
yes.
Daniel said it like that? I'm like, well, not like that. And like, then why are you saying it like that?
Yeah, because then they admit it. Well, yeah, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And then what did you make that call for?
Why do you have to put other
Right.
colors?
Don't you get artistic license with verbatim things?
You know what it is? It's the old woman who was cleaning the painting in Italy or whatever and decided to fix it and made it just a weird, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what that is for everybody. They're like, I'll fix this painting up. It's like, you could have just left it. Just leave it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just lowball it. Go,
Yeah.
he mentioned he liked it too.
Yeah,
Leave it there.
And instead, they reenact it.
Right. Hey, pals.
What
Hey.
a sideball we just had. Hey.
In 1974, Diane Swanson graduates. In 1974, my grandpa and his young family independently built a modest vacation cabin in the woods of Battleboro, Vermont, with their bare hands, based solely on do-it-yourself house building books. They named it Meadowbrook. It's nestled into a hill on a forested, 10-acre lot with a babbling brook and views of the stars at night from the deck, but only if you're willing to be out with the bats, nighttime pollinators, plus Luna moths flying around. With very little phone reception, no internet TV, and only wood stove heat, time slows down, and I feel like I can reconnect with my truest self. Is there any better feeling? I have countless memories.
That's the brochure for me right there.
Yeah. I have countless memories of quality time spent with family, friends, plus my husband, playing in the brook, reading on the deck in the sun, risking ticks to pick wild raspberries in the meadow, bonfires, visiting my two brothers when each of them lived there for a few years as adults, separate stints, and much more.
Can I comment quickly?
Of course.
It's so funny when someone does plus and they mean it as and.
Right.
But if you
it's
said
also a separator.
Family, friends, and my husband, sounds so great.
Yeah,
but if you go family, friends, plus my husband.
And then she'll go, I didn't say it like that. And now you're.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
When you put the plus, it changes the
Right.
feeling so much. And my husband,
Right.
plus my husband.
Right. But in the past 5 years or so, my grandpa has passed away, and no one has lived in the house or truly invested the time plus energy to maintain/improve it, and I'm becoming increasingly worried for its future. I feel a strong soul connection to this magical place and would be heartbroken for such a significant part of my grandpa's legacy to diminish or be lost due to disrepair. I have a physical disability, which can make physical labor like renovating a cabin unpredictably difficult at times, but many people in my extended family work in construction and have the skills, sets, and physical abilities to work on the house and property. And thankfully, my grandma has the money to pay for the improvements. The challenge is the motivation to actually get people on board when everyone's lives are so busy. Every time you guys talk about Daniel's cabin, my heart, also just for the record, I am the first person who's been mentioned of the two of us in this letter. Every time you guys talk about Daniel's cabin, my heart is flooded with good memories and motivation to find a way. My questions for you both are, 1, will you both be visiting Daniel's cabin together someday for a hashtag RRGT? 2, what's the best way to go hashtag F2F with my extended family and motivate them to help improve the cabin? 3, Daniel, are there any plans in place for the long-term care of your cabin besides burning it down, of course? Thank you so much for all you do. Listening and laughing has helped me more than I can say. Rory.
Oh, I'm getting talked to directly.
I'm
the first person in the letter to be talked to directly.
Rory, the way you openly talk about cannabis use, especially the crying for myself episode, helped me release some shame I unintentionally held for using medical cannabis. With love, your penny, soon to be paler, Megan. All right.
Megan!
Roar.
Rory plus Daniel here.
I like it. I mean, how do you get people motivated to do something that you feel a seemingly stronger pull than everyone else to do, even though everyone will benefit from it being done, but you seem to be the person who cares the most?
Here's where I start.
Okay.
And I don't know how. I don't know the how because it's all personality based. And so that's going to be dependent on the personalities of who we're talking about.
Sure.
For instance, if we in our minds flash over to family mooch letter, that's a different situation.
Right.
So, Megan, I think in this situation, I, based on this letter, would start with those two brothers who lived at the cabin. There's a good chance that they also have an emotional bond. Could be wrong. They might have hated it, but could have an emotional bond and also maybe could be more easily sold on the idea this was a house that gave you a home. And so if you can muster it and make it work and figure it out, and since we've already got the money, money's always the issue.
Right.
Money is covered.
Right.
I think that I think, Megan, you got to go in. You got to do a calculated take on the improvements that got to be done, And I think you got to start with your two brothers. You have to go to them with exact plans on like length of time, because the money in this situation is time for getting people to help you.
But here's my thing for you, Roar. What do you do when you want to do something that will benefit everyone?
You mean in general?
Yes.
Sure.
So you are like, hey, I want us to go the extra mile on this thing.
Yeah.
And I want it more than you.
Yeah.
But I need you on board because you're going to benefit from it as well.
Yeah.
But they don't want to be on as board as you are because you care more than they do.
Yeah.
Like we've run into this with family stuff, right? Where you're like, look, I want it to be this, and I know that I seemingly am willing to put in more financial commitment or time than other people to do it.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with it when other people are like, I don't really care as much as you care? I guess I'm asking you a long question to say, for me, you've got to ask yourself, how important is it for this to happen? Because do you have any people, is it a thing in South Carolina where people have like cabins and lake homes?
Yeah, a lot of lake houses.
Okay.
And some people have cabin, like mountain stuff.
It's obviously
beach
huge,
houses, for
especially
sure.
like Illinois
Yeah.
and Indiana. People just
Get out
go
in
to
the woods.
Wisconsin. They go, it's like, I made the joke in my first album, like Wisconsin's Illinois' backyard.
Yeah.
And it is. It also, I love it independently on its own. But every time I talk to people about my cabin, my family's cabin, and they used to have one, it's always the same thing. We should have never gotten rid of that cabin.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what could you have done? And some people go, well, I wanted to keep it going, but my other family didn't. And I go, well, now having lost it, do you wish you would have figured out a way to either take it over?
The money to buy a new one.
Right.
I think broad strokes, start off, whoever you think the people are that you really want to get on board with you, and I mean this in general, not just the cabin, but in this case I'm talking about the two brothers, only because they were mentioned as having lived there. But I think you have to make sure they know what it means to you. And I think it starts with knowing that you are in a position of having a physical disability. I think it make it clear to them, hey, if I were capable to do this, if I could just go do this, I would do. I love it so much. I would go plant myself there, and I would do this, certain aspects of this work. I would do it on my own,
right?
Because I love it so much,
right?
I think you have to sell people on the idea of how much it means to you, because, and here's an example, you go to a concert of a band you think is okay, you're not that crazy about, and you watch that band on stage love themselves, love their music, get so caught up in it,
right? And
you walk away going, I think I like that band a little more than when I came into it. And the only thing that sold you was how much they cared about it. It got you on board. And I think there's ways. I don't sit here saying that I think about Stand By Me ever. I don't. It doesn't cross my mind as like a movie that I like, Stand By Me. But because of how much you love that movie, it has changed how I feel about a thing that I don't necessarily feel a thing for.
Oh, dude.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know how much I thought about Tool before you?
Exactly. But now you go, oh, maybe I like this. Maybe I'm into this. But it took someone else's passion
for it.
Exactly.
And you knew Stand By Me as like, yeah, good movie.
Yeah.
But not much thought.
Right.
I say this.
I see it differently
with
now.
love, and for my new friend Adam as well. But I didn't know the music at all, right? Mm-hmm. So I was at zero, not in zero in terms of like,
right.
Just in terms of like
knowledge,
personal
zero knowledge of it,
influence, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm above zero, a majority of which is through you. Yeah. Even my friendship with Adam is. But I met him through you. Obviously now I like him, so I'm like I the guitar he released and the music that I've heard. Yeah. So yeah, you can. But I think someone's passion or love for a thing can be contagious.
I think
that like a simple way of saying it?
100%. Because I think that's the first selling point, is letting someone know this is how I feel about it. Like if you had a slideshow of pictures and videos that you have over time from the cabin and family, and you had someone or yourself, if you know how to do that stuff, cut it into
And at the end, be like,
a
"Do you
slideshow?
want to lose this?
Do
do it like a
wanna lose
political
this
ad,
jerk?
right? Some members of our
yeah.
family don't
Put
care.
music in there
yeah,
and show it to them
yeah.
and just go, this is what we would be saving. We would be saving younger generations of our DNA able to have this
I
as
always
well.
say-
the thing that I'm showing you, they could also have.
You'll never
if we
regret
save
the
this.
amount of money you spend on a good memory.
Yeah.
And something like a cabin is like a treasure trove of memory. It's
Plethora.
Yes, a cornucopia.
A plethora.
Is that our thing?
That's not how you say it,
Oh, okay.
but I do want to say it like
I thought it was a whole other thing that meant the same thing.
Yeah. Like Stephen Merchant did the narrator for When Harry Met Sally, the table read thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And when he said privacy, which is not how any of us want to say it, but when he said privacy, we all went, he's better than us. You know what I mean? If I said plethora, someone would go, that's not how that's said.
But maybe
Or is Rory better than me?
Schedule.
When someone says schedule, I'm like, yes. Do you know, like for amateur golf, you say amateur. You go, he's an amateur. And when someone says that, you go,
because
I
of
bet that guy wears a suit
to
just
sleep.
to go to bed. That guy puts a suit on to call it a day.
Here's my other thing. Money doesn't seem like a problem, right?
What?
Because she said, thankfully my
She
grandma
said
has
the
the money to pay for
grandmother.
it.
She said the grandmother's
So here's
willing
what
to put the money
what
up.
she wants. She wants number one.
So also, if the grandma, I'm not getting the impression they're like, we're loaded with money because
But
they
they
would
have money
they
to
would
do
have
the
someone do
repairs.
it. But the fact that the
No,
grandma's like,
I think
I'll
you're wrong.
pay for it.
I think you're wrong.
What?
I think number one, she wants the cabin to not fall away into disrepair. Number two, she wants her family to be the people like her grandpa did.
Yes.
To build it back up and keep it nice. This is my thing, though.
Right.
If you first have to check off number one. You may not get to number two. And this is a personal thing for me. So with the cabin, we all know my lifelong dream
Fire
is
starter.
burn it.
Yeah.
Burn it down to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay? And eventually build a new cabin with a lot of the same aesthetic and love.
Lifelong dream.
It's big. It's a big one.
It's not
for
even
me.
career related. He just wants to ruin a
No,
landmark.
I want to get rid of it, and I want to build something with a lot of the same aesthetic and
I go ruin a
feelings and
landmark,
finally-
and you go, no, I want to get rid of it.
But in the meantime, one of the things I currently want to do at the cabin is the back door is the cabin's so old. It's skinnier than the door we have here in the studio, and there's a lot of light that doesn't get in. It can get a little dark in the cabin.
Yeah,
so
you
what
want
what
that.
I want to do is take that door out
Yep.
and take out the built-in air conditioner into the wall, and I
Yep.
want to do a big sliding glass door, patio door.
Yep.
Right now, one of my best friends, who I'm also related to, Brad Messer. I'll call him out. Brad Messer works for
Brad.
ABC Supply.
Brad, where are you?
ABC Supply, for people who don't know, one of the biggest
Liquor
building
stores.
material
ABC
supply
Liquor.
factors. Yes. Provides building material for
Vodka,
so much in the world,
whiskey.
in the country. He keeps going, hey, man, I can get you all the material for that. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. And I hope that doesn't get him fired. Also, it shouldn't because he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Then we have a contractor in my family who's like, dude, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It'll take a day.
Yeah.
First of all, you need is a Sawzall. If you got the other stuff there, we can put in one day. We can put this
As
in.
someone who's having his kitchen redone, these things can happen quick. Okay.
Or you can hit delays.
Very, very slow.
Right.
Permits.
But here's the thing. I believe, real life talk. I believe
Okay.
Brad Messer would love to help me get a deal on materials.
Yes.
I also believe the person in my family who's a contractor,
Yes.
given the time and the window, no pun intended, would love to help me build it. But here's the thing.
I'm gonna argue. I think that pun was intended.
But here's the thing. And then we go about that. It becomes a debate.
I think you know good and well you intended that pun.
I think it is, I'm not saying I care more,
Yeah.
but I think it's a bit more of a priority for me than it is them. And so,
Yes.
what I'm going to do, since number
For
one
obvious reasons.
is since number one is getting the window done,
Yeah.
I'm going to just call a contractor in that area,
Yeah.
get a couple bids on it,
Yep.
and then I'm going to try to pay for it myself to have it done.
Yes.
And tell the rest of the family, this is how much it cost if you could chip in. Now,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, for years, if I go that route, I'm going to hear from people in my family saying, we could have done this for a lot cheaper. I would have done it.
Yeah.
And they mean it.
Yeah.
But getting the time and the window, and this is none of what I'm saying is a negative. It just means they've got different things pulling. They got their own job. Like they always say that the town painter's house is made of brick, right?
Yeah.
I doubt that my cousin who's a contractor is like, oh, can I carve out some of my week where I should be working to go work?
Yeah.
Like I get it.
Yeah.
But he does mean it with his heart when he's like, I'll do it. But if your goal is to get it done, I think on some level you go, well, I'm just going to do it.
But here's what
just make it happen.
But
hire someone to do it. I know it's not your grandpa doing it. I know it's not in your family, but it'll be done and you won't lose it.
But here's what I think, and this is to your point. I think the grandma saying, I'll put up the money, I do think it's valid. She's probably like, I want the family to do it. But I think her throwing up the money, and like I said, I'm not getting the impression she's like, we're rolling in dough.
Sure.
Most people aren't. But her saying, the grandma's got the money, I don't think it's because the grandma's like, I'm rolling in dough. I just think maybe it's not extensive work that has to be done on this cabin. Meaning, it might not be like cost consuming, and it might not be ridiculously time consuming. I mean, those things are going to matter like on being able to get other people on board to do it.
Right.
I would say it's probably not taking that. I bet you it's, I'm willing to bet it's maybe more minimal than we believe. It's just a matter of selling other people on helping do it. And I think there is a world where you go, it really matters a lot that the family does it, but at the same time, to salvage it and save it, I agree with you. I think you have to make that the second priority. And the first priority is who is going to do it. And it has to be these contractors over here that have no emotional attachment to the house.
At least it got done.
At least it got done. And also, maybe it fucking makes it way more badass. You might go, we just made this thing capable of going into the next generation of our family because it is pimped out and ready for what their reality is. There's a world where a contractor comes in and goes, I know how to make this greener for you guys. I know how to make this a better. I know how to come in and make this.
With his environmentalist.
I know how to come and make the. I know how to come in and make this less cost consuming for like power and all these things. I mean, we live in a different world now than when these cabins were built. They can all be upgraded to a system that you go, oh, it's a lot of money to do all the work, and you go, it can also save money.
When you see mine, you'll go, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah. You're like, this is. This is 100% a Wisconsin cabin.
Let's burn it down.
But you'll be like, yeah, you could totally. And
I
keep
think it's
this
fitting.
And keep this.
I think it's fitting that we burn it down together.
Well, that answers question number 1. Will you both be visiting Daniel's cabin someday? I mean, yes.
It's on the horizon.
Right?
As all things are.
Yeah, but some things aren't. Some things you turn around and go the other way. Horizon's where the sun's setting, right? Or is it horizon as far as you can see?
Horizon's as far as you can see.
It doesn't have anything to do with the sun?
No.
Okay. Best way to go F2F, you kind of talked about that. You wanted to do a musical slideshow.
I think that works.
I think at the very least, you know what I would say? Another option?
Sue them.
Write a letter about your favorite memories with each person and say, I really am afraid we're going to lose this.
And also, back pocket, blackmail. Consider it.
Any plans for long-term care of your cabin? Yeah, there is. We're just doing it together. I think because I'm gone, it lives in my brain a little bit more than other people's.
Right. Yeah.
But that's hard to say because, like my mom and my aunt and my aunts and my uncles, like they've been doing it. They've been keeping it going way before since I was a small child. Yeah. So it's hard for me to be like, well, I feel like I really care about it because that's not true. I think I just have a little bit more free space in my brain to really be like, what are we doing with this? It
is true. I think it is true. There's no question that at one point they felt the same way, and they got it this far. It's all handing it off. If I'm your mom or uncle, if I'm any member of your family of the older generation above you, I'm sitting there going, hey, when we were in our 30s, 40s, whatever, we took over and kept the beach ball in the air.
Sure.
It is not our job anymore, and we don't feel the same way. In fact, if Daniel goes, I'm never going to change anything about the cabin, we're all still going to use the cabin and be fine with it. But if the cabin is to improve, it's not our job to do it. The job to do it is now on you and your cousins and your brother and whoever else is like that generation in your family.
And everybody does
who
a lot.
enjoys it.
Everybody does
and
a
I'm
lot.
Sure they
I
do
just
a
have
lot.
some big things I really
sure they
want
do a lot.
to have happen.
But I would
with
say, in conjunction with what Megan's saying here, taking Daniel's experience, knowing that it's both cabins and you're trying to motivate family, there's a world where you go, hey, just so everyone knows, I went ahead and had some plans drawn up of the changes I would like to make, and I went ahead and got bids as to what the labor and materials would cost, and I found out how much time it would take and when it could be done, and I just want everyone to know this is the total price, and I'm willing to pay this much alone. Does anyone else have any interest or capability? Not everyone's, people might want to.
Sure.
Any interest or capability in throwing in on this? Does anyone want to see these plans, and do you agree with these? I feel this way about the cabin. We all don't have to feel the same way about the cabin. And if people are like, I've never even really liked the cabin, just as a hypothetical, they might be like, why would I want to throw in money for a thing I don't care about? Totally fine. I just want to know if anyone wants to. And don't do this. Don't do the thing. Go. All right. Well, if you don't help, you don't get to use it.
Fuck
I don't think
that.
that's a
No,
way to do it.
I hate that
That's not a
attitude.
way to do it. Because people might not want to help. Because maybe they don't really want to necessarily.
Do you know the
use
only
it.
thing I would ask for? Like, let's say in my family, I get
If someone's
to a
going,
point,
hey, I want the cabin for a week by myself, and you go, you should have helped. If you go, oh, the whole family's getting together for a week, I'll come out and see everybody. That's not using the cabin.
No.
That's saying, hey, I still want.
I would
love
even
all
be
of you
okay with
still.
somebody like, is it okay if we have it for this week, right? Unless it's like a prime, like it's the 4th of July. You can't have it to yourself for the week.
Of course not.
But the only thing I would want, let's say I get to a place, right, where like we finally sell Pen Pals the musical.
Yeah.
And it's
and
like,
the movie and the ride.
of
and
course.
The amusement park.
Yes, of course. And the merchandise and the slot machines and the craps table.
Yes.
So
God, I hope in 40 years that's happened. All that's
could
happened.
you imagine?
And we are living like the most just
god awful.
we look horrible.
Yes.
You know what? We look like Biff from Back to the Future
Yes,
2.
Biff
We're up at the
Worlds.
thing.
Yeah,
we're like,
dude.
"Ah,
I remember you.
we did it. We just have guns.
More grapes. My only thing I want, if I'm like, hey guys, I can redo the whole cabin, and I bought the cabin across the street, whatever, all that stuff, right? Dreams, right? My only thing I would want, the only thing I really want, is gratitude.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
literally, if somebody was like, hey, sorry, I
goes a
couldn't
long
help you
way.
out, I'm not in the same place you're in, I would go, that's okay.
but it means a lot to me that
But
you
it
did
means
all
the
this,
world to
and
me that you
I'm
did
really
this.
appreciative.
And
that
hey,
means
if you want to
everything.
take off early, we'll make sure we close everything up.
That's a great note to just say to everybody.
Just
is
gratitude.
showing gratitude all the
Oh
time.
my
Yes,
God,
there are
dude.
people who go, well, thank
Oh
you for
my
saying
God.
thank you, but also you still owe $50. Yes, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, when you just show gratitude and you're like, man, it means a lot to me. Like, what can I throw in? How much was everything? Almost every time that person's going to go, hey,
Nothing.
don't even sweat it, dude. I'm just glad you had fun.
Nothing.
Because that person, if they threw it all in, there's a good chance they could. And they don't necessarily want the money back. And also, family, everybody knows where everybody stands.
Right.
Nobody's trying to be like, hey, I paid for all of it and it doesn't bother me, but it will bother you,
Right.
and I need you to be
Right.
bothered. And like, no one's doing
Just
that.
gratitude.
But gratitude is a big fucking thing.
Feels so good.
All right,
When
we gotta
somebody
get
looks
out
at
of
you
here,
and it's like,
Megan.
"It's meant a
This
lot to me."
is a crazy letter.
Yeah, we'll let you
Megan,
know.
you're crazy.
Let us know what happens. Seriously, I want to know how you go F2F. I want to know
Yeah,
what
I gotta
happens
know
with your
I gotta
cabin.
know your style.
Obviously, we'll let everybody know after the fact.
Send us the slideshow
when Rory
if you make a
goes to
slideshow.
my cabin. And yeah, if you make a slideshow, send it to us.
Send it to us.
Okay. Thanks so much for this. We wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Daniel Van Kirk.
Rory Van Scovel.
Whoa.
And we're back. That just freaked my
That
dog
was
out,
a
and I
gear
feel kind of
change.
bad. I
That
didn't
was a
think
gear
about it.
change. Have you ever made your dog
Given the fact that
howl?
all three of us in this studio are human, we've never had a response like that. But the dog, who's,
Can your dog howl?
he's never howls.
I think every dog has a pitch that would make them
A
howl.
weird response. He never howls.
I think every dog has a pitch that would make them howl.
Dear Rory and Daniel,
Okay?
what do you think so far? Someone who gets
Probably a
it?
bad letter.
I had the pleasure of seeing you both at the Moon Tower Comedy Festival,
It's getting
and
better.
it was glorious.
Way better.
Great description.
Yep.
After listening to Pin Pals for years, Paler for life, love to hear that, I got to see a live show plus Dumb People Town and even caught Rory do a spot on the last night.
Look at that.
It was my first comedy special and comedy festival, probably. And frankly, I wasn't prepared to see celebrities this up close and personal. And to be clear, you guys are celebrities, especially to me. I've seen hours of both of your comedy, and it still isn't enough. After Rory's spot on the last night, I got up to leave, and as it happened, Rory was walking out right in front of me. Now, keep in mind, I would usually never say a word to a celebrity. It makes me laugh because that just feels so ridiculous when someone's like, "You're a celebrity." It's like,
you know what?
I don't agree.
Take that as a sign that you still have your little dreidel.
That I'm a human person.
Like Inception, yeah. Like you're still touching reality. If it's making you uncomfortable, you're still touching reality.
But also the words, like I do get it, but like when someone says celebrity, like in my mind, I'm thinking like only Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Or like Michael Jackson. Like someone that is so...
That's insane.
But you know what I mean? Like whenever it goes celebrity, I'm going like Michael Jordan.
Do you know
like,
what I think?
World renowned.
I think going into good old days...
Like I don't even think of Meryl Streep as a celebrity because she's seemingly such a real person. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were to sit and have coffee with her, you'd be like, I had such a normal conversation with Meryl Streep. It eliminates
normally
that idea
do.
of celebrity.
She's great.
The reason I say celebrity is because you're like, well, Tom Cruise is this famous, and I know that we would never say one normal thing to each other.
That's like a stratosphere. That's like iconic level.
Yeah, that's what I mean. To me, that's where it's
celebrity is you go to Good Old Days, which is a restaurant up by the cabin, and you walk in, and someone in Good Old Days goes, "Hey, aren't you from?" That's when you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
When they know who you are there.
All right. Good old days. I hope it happens to me. Now, keep in mind, I would usually never say a word to a celebrity. I don't want a picture with them or their autograph because it seems weird and or fake to both parties, in my opinion. Do I show the picture to my friends later and say, see, Rory and I are good friends? I'm not delusional. But at the same time, here I was walking out of this venue with Rory 2 feet in front of me, and before I knew what was happening, I said, hi, Mr. Scovel, which also sounded weird and overly formal. He was as nice as could be. Let's just sit in that for a second.
You're a good faker. Also,
He was as nice as
that
could
he didn't
be.
write you were as nice. He's writing to you.
Yeah.
There's you
I'm a nice
writing
guy.
to me, telling me he was as nice as could be. Because then he should have addressed it appropriately.
Oh, he's writing it to our listeners.
To
He
us,
was
though.
as nice as could be. I guess in a way he is writing this to you.
So it should have been appropriately labeled.
Well,
So he's
it's weird
probably
that-
realized his mistake by now.
it's weird that when I said he was as nice as could be, you didn't just chime in with like, that's the truth.
I wasn't there.
Like, I agree.
Actually, I did. I go.
Yeah, but you know that I'm
You didn't hear
as
me.
nice as
I
could be.
said he's a faker.
That's why
Check the tape.
That's why
Roll it
this is
back.
to you. That's why this is to you because Josh here is like, Daniel needs to know Rory is as nice as he could be, and he shook my hand and smiled.
Also, as nice as you could be doesn't mean nice. It's as nice as you could be.
Yeah.
Now that probably
And that's
doesn't
not
even-
that's not
that's
easy
not a
for
fucking
me.
candle in the wind to how nice I can be.
I can be. I will drive you back to your house.
He was hey.
I wish he met you and he goes, and Daniel was also super nice, immediately offered me a ride home. Like, what?
Hey, how was prison? It was as nice as it could be.
That's not bad.
Is it?
And then my mind went blank and I started rambling about growing up in South Carolina and how I played soccer in high school too. In the moment, I cannot get comfortable here. In the moment, I kept thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Tell this guy you love his comedy and leave him alone. I would have paid one of my friends to clamp their hand over my mouth in that moment. Again, Rory was so polite, which somehow made me feel worse about bothering him. So that's it. I know no one is normal around celebrities. I mean, maybe it's different for you guys in the business, but how do you keep your shit together doing a podcast with Rose Byrne or Will Ferrell? Do you feel any pressure to make fellow comedians laugh? Do you overthink it? And I know from now on to keep any interaction to a simple thank you for the hours of laughter. I love your work. That is, if I ever have the courage to open my mouth again. Your pal, Josh.
Do you remember this interaction? Don't feel bad if you don't.
I do.
Okay.
I do remember it. And it's funny because we're two people coming at it with two perspectives that, you know, you read this and you go, oh, that seems stressful and anxiety filled for this other person. Whereas for me, it was not, you know, it's
Very
just like,
cash.
oh, great. Like, oh, you played what high school? Oh, soccer. I remember, I think I asked something more about like what high school or what city. I can't totally remember, but it's funny because to me, it's so casual. And yet to him, there was so much more in it. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but so much more anxiety in it than to me, where it's just two people chatting about a common thing. That's where I grew up. I also played high school soccer. Maybe we know similar people or whatever. And I remember it just kind of ended, as conversations just do. But to answer your question, yes, I do remember it.
So let me ask you.
And I hated him. And I've hated Josh ever since that moment.
You know what's interesting? I find that comedy performance is the great equalizer, right?
In what way? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, to say that Will Ferrell was a big influence on me comedically would go, yeah, welcome to the party, pal, right?
Bruce Willis.
But once the show starts, we're just doing the show.
Yeah.
And our job is to service comedy.
Yes.
And that is the great equalizer. So it no longer matters all the movies and all the amazing characters and all the iconic comedic things he's ever done. Yes. Yeah. Because right now, we got to read this letter and have a good time.
Yeah.
And so it almost, because when I did a show, did Dumb People Town with John C. Reilly, right? And I'm like, holy fuck. Okay. Yeah. But once we get on the stage at Largo and it starts.
Yes.
He better get his fucking jokes in, and I better get my fucking jokes in, and let's have a good time. But I'm just saying, it almost trips away.
Right.
The like.
But
holy
to that
shit.
end, you and I, over the course of more so being here in LA doing stand up.
Yeah.
That is still very much there.
Yes.
But
that's why I love comedy. It's a meritocracy.
We're able to be more reactive to it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and go, I've always responded to meeting some of my favorite comedians or actors and just being a super chill, normal guy. I certainly didn't start at that response. I was also very quiet and just in awe of being like, I think more like when I was in a green room with
Steve Martin.
I don't know that I have a specific example. Nothing's coming to mind. But let's say John C. Reilly. Let's say I just got to town and I'm also just maybe I'm the comic who's opening at Largo before introducing Dumb People Town with John C. Reilly.
Right.
And I'm in the green room. In that moment, from my own history, I've often been the guy sitting there going, this is a moment in time that is really cool, but it's also making me think I'm doing the right things because I'm in this green room with someone I really look up to and admire. And I think that interpretation of a moment with, a celebrity, I think that's how I see it. I'm able to make it about me. But you know what I mean? In a way where I go, hey, Rory, those are the Sklar brothers. That's Daniel Van Kirk. And that's John C. Reilly. And I am here to work with them, and that means I did something right.
Yep.
I did something right to get hired to do this job.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I sit there going, oh my God, I want a picture, but how do I ask for one? Instead, I sit there going, okay, I get to release a little bit of the anxiety of, is this all for nothing, and am I delusional, or am I actually good at comedy? And you get that sort of seal of approval going. If you were horrible, as your brain often can tell you are, you wouldn't be in this room and you wouldn't be on this show.
Right.
And so that's how I've interpreted
You're here for
those moments. Granted, I'm not sitting there going, admittedly, it took me a long time to get to a point where I could comfortably chat with a known celebrity in these green rooms.
Do you have the feeling I have where you just try to make it super real?
What?
Like, let's say I was inspired by you.
Yeah.
But
just spit is just dripping off this.
But let's say I was, right?
Yeah.
If I was sitting on like a plane next to you, right? So now I'm not inspired by you, you're just a person next to me on a plane.
Yeah.
Just like if we weren't in a green room, right?
Yes.
I would go, I try to go to a real place where I'm like, I really like that sweater. Where'd you get that?
Right. Yeah,
and if that's something I would think about the guy next to me on a plane.
No matter who it is.
Yeah. And now I'm in this person in a green room or backstage, and I'm like, holy fuck, it's Rory Scovel. But he said out of love. But I would say the same thing, like, I really like that sweater, man. And so you try to take it to a real place. And I think Josh did that here by going like, I'm also from South Carolina. I love.
Well, that's
and
that's
so
what
now
I
you're going,
mean.
Great.
Well, that's what I mean. The two perspectives of it, because that's at no point was I going, Jesus, this dude.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, soccer. Like I was like,
Sure.
chatting, but
Took
it's
it
so
to a
funny.
real place.
It's so funny that when
If he was sitting on a plane next to you and he didn't know comedy and he didn't know who you were, and you were wearing a shirt that says, I
Yes.
played soccer, I'm from South Carolina,
Yes.
he would go, hey, man, I saw your shirt. I also did that.
Yes.
So he knows that about you just because he follows you, and that's the
Yes.
comedy context and the celebrity part, but still just take it to a real place.
but also to make you feel better, Josh, and maybe others, having worked with Will and having worked with Rose and others, and establishing a friendship and having a relationship, and Daniel having, not necessarily specifically worked with those two.
I worked with Rose.
But Will, I mean, and like, but you've through Dumb People Town and countless stand-up, you've grown numb to the shock of, oh, there's someone I've watched a lot. And so
Right.
just so what you see on this, what you hear on this podcast and what you see on the podcast is two people who, if you took us to day one, Josh, outside of this venue talking to me, Daniel and I are not so different in going, oh, I think I'm being awkward maybe in this
Sure.
moment, and I've said something that you haven't said, or you're misinterpreting the response, almost like when you're high and you're paranoid. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, I just talked too long, and everyone's like, actually, you said one thing, and everyone thought it was actually weird that you didn't talk enough. We would be the same way, but here you are, all of you getting to hear and see this show in the context of going, well, we're kind of hanging out with people we do have relationships with, and even if we don't have relationships with them, we've
I go back
had
to what you said.
relationships enough
But
to
also,
where...
But also what you said. You go, I make it about me. And I think this is right, where you go, well, I should be here.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm...
Yes.
Granted,
Yes.
maybe I'm only opening the show, but I've earned that.
But you've earned it.
And
yes.
so I should be here.
It changes your interpretation of the moment, and it changes your value.
Can I be like a little weird?
Yeah.
I love our show so much that Will Ferrell and Rose should be on our show.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking great.
And they loved it.
And they loved it.
And people
But so we
loved
were
it.
right. But my point is like,
But
I know what I have, and so it's great.
But just to say, Josh, you're right. And when you say, how do you guys handle it? We didn't always.
Is there a group,
Handle
though,
it.
last thing, and then we'll go. Is there a person or a type of celebrity that you would be like, I don't know what the fuck. Like, if you were like, that's VJ Singh. Like, if you were like, that's fucking VJ Singh. Right
no
there.
longer. But here's the thing. I don't dive right into
Because sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm totally cool around other actors and comedians. Like, I don't
Yes.
give a fuck.
But I'm
you
not,
put
I'm
me
not so
around, like,
outgoing around someone who's like...
you put me around like a musical icon versus
Yeah.
a comedic icon.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit more, or an athletic icon. And
Yes.
I'm like, I don't really fucking know what to say.
But here's the thing. I think I've grown and matured enough to the point where I realize
Right.
I've finally at 41 become more comfortable in my own skin and more confident in who and how I am, that I don't feel this need to say something. So I think my first thought is not, what would I say?
I think you're leaning in.
Like, well, let's say let's say,
I think if it's hole 3, right? And you see, name great golfer. Just name a great golfer.
I don't know, Jordan Spieth.
Okay, you see Spieth, the Rory I know, who an interaction is definitely going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you're not forcing it, but
Sure,
for some reason
sure, yes.
Like you get back and he's talking off and he's like, how'd you play today, guy? Like he's just a casual, nice to see you, like
Yeah.
whatever formal thing.
Yeah.
You go, gonna be honest, Graham's moving a little fast today.
Yeah.
Moving like you
Like,
would
I'm not
lean
gonna lie,
in,
Jordan. I feel like you on 12,
right?
and he would go, I hate you.
Right. But you would go for that. You'd be like, just so you know, Graham's moving a little fast today.
Yeah.
I know how you putt. I'm just going to tell
I
you.
know you putt.
We
I
don't
know
know
your
each
stroke.
other. We don't need to know each other
Yeah.
for me to tell you Graham's moving a little. Like you go.
Yes.
And I have that same thing too.
Yes, but just to clear this up, what you're providing is a situational interaction, whereas I'm saying, oh, hey, we're all on this show. We've just gone into a green room, and there's Roger Waters, and I'm going, I highly respect and admire and all the things, that man and what he's done and accomplished.
Sure.
But when I go, what would I say to him? My reaction now is, well, it depends on what he says to me, because I'm not going to go. Now, if no one said anything, like I saw John Goodman at the airport, walked up, touched his back, and I just said, Absolute genius. Leave it at that. And I walked off. And I could tell he was like, oh, like it was so fast. He was almost like, oh, God. And then he like, the Delta person went to like help him. And I was like, yeah, there isn't something for the two of us to talk about.
But you wanted to say that.
But I'm on the way out. And I just wanted you to know, whatever your day's like, you hear it all the time. People love you. I'm just coming over saying, I'm not going to go, hey, so I do comedy also. And you don't need to know it. If I just walk over and go, hey, here's a random compliment, throwing it at you, catch it, do whatever you want with it. Throw it away if you get 100 of them. You're like, I don't have any more room in my pockets.
You had none of the exceptions. He wasn't eating. He wasn't in the restroom. He wasn't on the phone.
All those things matter.
He wasn't with family.
Look, Daniel and I had a chance to aggressively confront Michael Keaton at a restaurant that was not filled at an hour when you could do it. Daniel and I didn't stare. We acknowledged that we both knew Michael Keaton was at a table 10 yards away. 10 yards away from us was Michael Keaton having dinner with his wife, and I think we had said like maybe it was a manager agent.
Oh, yes.
But and I walked by to go to the bathroom. They weren't eating. There was an opportune time. I could have said something, and I said, I'm not gonna stop and say something. To have to find out right now that was not the time to stop and say something. Right. I would rather it be in a different setting, a different situation, and just sit here going, how cool is that? There is a guy who inspired me to do what I do. And you leave it at that. And that was that moment. But we got to get out of here. But just to clear it up with you, Josh, I don't feel as anxious and as stressful as that moment might have been for you. And I think Daniel makes a great point. And you handled it great. You just brought up a regular conversation. There is no when someone says they like what I do, I will say this. It is always great to get a compliment, but it does, even when that feels good, for someone to just go, here's why I love you or why I follow you or do these things. And I understand how arrogant this sounds, but when people are like that or do appreciate it, and I'm no different.
Right.
They don't really want to hear about it, and they don't want to sit in that because most people are not egomaniacal, insane motherfuckers
like us
who are like, why are you asking me about my sweater? Just say you love me and that I inspire you and move on.
Right.
That's crazy. If someone goes, the fact that Josh walked up and said, hello, Mr. Scovel, that has already said, I know you. I obviously like your stuff. I'm at the thing you were just doing. Why do we need to bring it up? And he didn't go, I love you, or like, I'm a huge fan. Right. It's like, yeah, and you don't even have to be a huge fan. You're here, and you being here is the reason they let me go up there. So
exactly,
I'm happy.
It's a give and take.
You're happy, and to say, hey, you played soccer. It's like, yeah, I did. Like, I know it was an awkward interaction, but those happen. But just to set you at ease before we close this letter, you were great. You put a lot more drama into it than you need to. You were great.
I agree, and I wasn't even there.
And that's how it is with most people.
All right, wish him.
All right, and then I don't do it.
After the way you acted,
after what you said to me. But Josh, yeah, you're a good dude, and we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel
and Scovel Daniel.
Daniel, just be careful with that little guy.
You heard that, right?
Are you crazy?